Yeah, the other two options, one of them I find almost made my top five. It might be better than Power Word Kill. And the other one is just like, yeah, whatever. But there is a
Yeah,
one that's just definitively
I,
worse than everything
I
else here.
I know exactly what you're talking about for each of those,
Yep.
according to that vague description you just gave. Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're breaking down our picks for the top five and one worst level 9 sorcerer spells.
The top of the top, the creme de la creme. This is the big stuff you play Sorcerer for, right?
Or wizard.
Or Wizard. It's almost exactly the same list, except just slightly worse, I think. Because I think there's slightly fewer options. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
No, but like this is eight in total, and we're talking about at least six. I have a hunch we'll talk about probably seven. I don't know if we're gonna get to all eight of them, but we'll talk about a lot of them to say the least.
Ooh, I think we might get to all eight.
Mm.
Or maybe not. Well, we'll see. Keep you on your toes.
Oh yeah.
All
Sorcerers
right.
still have a tiny itty bitty learned list by this point, so you get like one of these. Oftentimes you only want one of them because you only have one slot anyway. But sometimes you want both. You'll have to level up or forget a sixth level spell or whatever and pick one of these up if you want to. But for the most part, you'll just want whatever the most usable, most raw power of these are. And there is actually a great selection to pick from. So you've got all kinds of options here.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you're only getting one of these, it's not really a selection at all.
Pretty
You're
obvious
getting
which one you
Wish.
take.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is definitely my number one and 100% the best spell in the game. I don't think it's a particularly close call. It lets you do anything.
Yep.
So the floor on this is like five baller effects, which lets you like rewind time to undo an event, give 10 creatures immunity to an effect for 8 hours, give 10 creatures resistance to a damage of your choice, which is probably one of the worst effects, give 20 creatures the ability to regain all hit points. That one's pretty good. Why would you ever take mass heal? That's better. Anyway,
Yeah.
you can also create a object up to 25 grand in value that isn't a magic item. At this point, like this is a bad version of Fabricate, but don't worry, there's more because you can also replicate any 8th level or lower spell. But wait, there's more because you can also ask your DM to do something cool and they'll probably say yes. And that's the parameters of Wish. It's like the do anything you want kind of spell. Even if you ignore all the do anything you want kind of stuff, it is kind of bananas busted. So
Yeah. I mean, just I don't even want to think about all the stuff that's possible. I base my ranking of this just on the eighth level and lower spells.
yeah, that's a huge one. Any
Yeah.
8th level spell you want on hand right now. You have mass area effect control, you have mass area effect damage, you have resurrection magic, you have everything. All of it. And also the other five effects that I mentioned prior to this that are
Yeah.
definitely like ninth level spell worthy in a lot of cases. So yeah, super duper busted spell.
Agreed.
Um
Yeah, we talked about Wish on the wizard list. We talked about Wish in its own video. Wish has been covered.
it's a good one.
Uh,
It's a
yeah.
baller spell.
All right.
My
So
number
where
two.
are you going from there? You going number
Yeah, I'll go
two? All
down the
right.
list, why not?
Yeah.
So my next second best ninth level sorcerer spell, I think, is just the best damage spell in the game. I love it because it's just big, dumb, and splashy. It's Meteor Swarm. It's 40 d6 damage in three enormous areas. Like you just level armies with this kind of effect. It's just so much damage. It's what you wanted a ninth level spell. Like it checks all those boxes for me.
Yes, that definitely made my list. I'm not gonna not pick the best damaging spell in the game.
It's very, very good, and I think the simplicity of it makes me like happy because it's just like the logistics of finding 46-sided dice excites me as a little dice gremlin. Just having to like scrounge together with your friends to be like, oh crap, I only have 20 on me. Where else we got D6s? And you like breaking open the Risk game and you break open like your old Hero Escape crap and you're like going through all the board games you got lying around, just fishing for 6-sided dice so you can roll them all at once. That's what I particularly like about Meteor
Looking,
Swarm.
I don't have my dice bag handy, but
But
I'm
there
wondering,
are,
do I have 40 D6s?
that's
I
always the
very well might.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're a dice dragon, perhaps. I'm simply a dice gremlin. I have a little bag of my favorites that I cultivate and pick over time, and then I have just boxes of the dice lying all over the place because I'm an addict. What can I say?
Well, I used to sell dice, and the manufacturer sent me a bunch of samples, so I got a
Oh,
bunch of extra
nice.
ones.
That would do it. But yeah, Meteor Swarm's
Ah,
great. It just kills a lot of things. It's definitely the simplest of the spells we're going to talk about today.
hmm, is it? Well, yeah, probably. Um, yeah, my next pick, like Sam puts his in order. I don't really, but I think this would be number two if I
Mhm.
was listing them in order because Psychic Scream makes heads explode.
It does. It's like less than half the damage of Meteor Swarm, but it stuns. And stunning is really,
Oh,
really good. And
I was,
then
I
you
thought
were
you
going
were
to
gonna
say,
say,
but their
but
heads
it
explode.
makes heads explode.
Yeah. That's where you derive joy from this mainly,
Yep.
even though it's like, again, under half the damage of Meteor Swarm. Um, so you really have to want the stun for this to be good. It's my number 4, but the stun is very good. There'll be times whenever you're like, I really don't care about doing that much more damage. This kills a lot of the little things, and then stuns the big bad, and then we get a whole extra round of wailing into it, which definitely equates to more than the 24 or 2066 damage missed. So
Let
with
me
a hit,
ask you this. All right. Now, I think the head exploding thing is primarily flavor.
yeah, 100% flavor.
However, can you revivify that person?
Probably not, but you can raise dead them, I think. And you can resurrection them, and you're in a tier of play where you're casting Psychic Scream. So there are ways to bring that person back to life. Just
I'm
not
talking
with a
about
third
like
level slot.
immediately in like during battle.
No. And Revivify I don't think is even that usable in battle. I think it has a cast time, doesn't it?
Does it?
I think it's only a minute cast time. Let me
Yep.
double check. I'm pulling it up. Uh it's taking 5,000 hours to load. Oh, here we are. No, it's cast time of an action, so you could just be like, and you're back up with 1 hit point.
Yeah.
It
All
doesn't
right.
restore any
So,
missing body parts, so if they're missing a head, nope, Revivify won't work.
all right. So, not 100% flavor. Say
99.9%
90.
flavor.
I was gonna say 98%, but yeah, maybe 99.
Has there ever been an encounter that I, as a DM, have run where a big baddie has had Revivify? No, there hasn't been, and I would gauge that the vast majority of villains don't. So they have contingencies for their own life, but selfishness
Yeah.
is an evil trait, and that's why they're normally like not doing things that are kind to their minions, but trying to keep themselves alive with like death wards and phylacteries and crap.
All right. I wanted to give that head exploding some kind of value, and I have.
I don't. Sure, that is technically value. You've on a technicality, you got me there, Bob. It is not entirely fluff. I do think this spell is like there's a pretty clear divide between my top 3 and then Psychic Scream. I do think this is notably worse than my number 3 as well. But it is fine. I think if you enjoy this kind of effect, the stun is pretty solid. You'll have a good time with this.
Sure. Okay. What do you have next?
My number 3 that I alluded to is Mass Polymorph.
Yeah, I got
This
that.
thing's really good. It's 10 polymorphs in a cute little package. And that's just very powerful. You can turn things into beasts, give them a bunch of hit points back. You can turn things into squirrels and reduce their hit points to 1 and then lock them in a cage somewhere for later. If this lasts or that's true polymorph. Mass polymorph doesn't make it the effects permanent ever, but it does like radically warp an encounter. Like you'll go into a kingdom of the storm giants, and there's a storm giant overlord and 2 fighter giant, guards, and there'll be a cloud giant in the back that's doing some spellcasty stuff, and then 3 ogres in the front. You'll be like, okay, 6 of you are now squirrels, and then you round them up, put them in a bag somewhere, and then one at a time take them out and bash their heads in until fight them one at a time in a gauntlet style.
Or, yeah, somebody we recently did the polymorph video, and somebody commented, "You polymorph them into a squirrel, chuck them in a bag of holding."
Sure. Then eventually they suffocate, and then they flounder
Yep.
around in a bag of extra dimensional space for a while.
And suffocate again.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That's
What's
so
not
much
to love?
easier than all that. I was talking about tying them to a rock and throwing them in the ocean, but
I don't think that's that much harder, if we're gonna be honest. If you've got like
well, if you don't have
5-pound
an
animal,
ocean handy,
I don't think it's that much to figure out of how to like, bury somebody 30 feet underground or something. Like we're in a tier where you have mass polymorph. Surely you have ways beyond
yeah,
a bag of holding to get someone
move
dead.
Earth, sure,
Sure.
but I don't know. I mean, you've got a bag of
Bag of
holding.
holding is super easy. That's true.
Yeah.
Then you just funnel them onto the bag of holding. Just get like a little chute, and you just like turn them all into things. Then you funnel them in. It could be fun. It's 100 foot range. This thing's got a range of like 5 miles functionally. So you'll hit
Or
everything you care to hit, which is neat.
Or,
Uh,
I mean, the same, polymorph goes both ways. You can turn 10 peasants into giant gorillas.
Yeah. Well, so they have to The new form can be any beast you've seen whose challenge rating is 2 less than the target's level. So you can't turn peasants into upgrades, but you can turn players into downgrades at this stage.
Okay.
But I mean, like a giant ape isn't necessarily a downgrade to a barbarian, so that's an option. And you also like there is the real modality of you'll be towards the middleest portion of a fight, and you'll be like, I didn't want to have to use my ninth level spell slot here, but fine. Those 3 things are squirrels. These 3 allies are giant apes. That's a fine use case that you can have too if you absolutely need to in a pinch.
And it does get around, the weakness of polymorph against enemies. That if you got 10 targets, some of them are going to fail.
That's true. That's polymorph's great.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
It's my turn. I don't know.
Yep.
Let me check my list. All right, I got Wish, I got Psychic Scream, Meteor Swarm. All right, I've only got one more. Yes, this is where my list cut off, and like I couldn't choose a 5th one. I went with Blade of Disaster.
That's my number 5 too.
Is it? Wow. All right, I didn't feel great about that.
Yeah, I also think this one's denotably worse than a lot of its competition. It is 2 attacks for a lot of damage with high likelihood of critting that plays with advantage pretty well. So like there are lots of little things going for Blade of Disaster that I don't hate, especially if you're a sorcerer that doesn't have a good bonus action to use. And oftentimes you don't have a great bonus action to use as a sorcerer. If you're just going like down the road, 20 sorcerer, see what you get. This can be a fine way to like top end. I get extra damage every single round up to a minute. It's cheap to use. You can keep it out. As long as you can stay safe, you'll get 6 to 8 attacks out of this, and that'll be a decent chunk of damage. It definitely outlasts or outdamages my worst option, so that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I wasn't super confident with this pick. I just, it's I guess single target damage if you need it. I mean, you can theoretically this could out damage Meteor Swarm for a single target. But
you get a minute of it. If everyone crits, you're doing 16d12 damage around, so it doesn't even take that long, but they're not all going to crit. But still, like, oh, sorry, it's 12d12 bonus damage. Or sorry, it's 12d12 damage if it does crit, because it does 3 times damage on crits, which is neat. But like, for 80-12 damage around, you need like 4 rounds of this up for it to outmatch the damage on one target of Meteor Swarm. Now, 4 rounds is a lot of rounds, and 1 target is less than many targets, and that is to begin out damaging the instantaneous mass destruction that is Meteor Swarm. But maybe you don't have like a great way to get your allies not getting murdered by the Meteor Swarm. Maybe you want a more, Meteor Swarm is very much a grenade. This is very much a scalpel. So like they do serve pretty different purposes. So I can see there being kinds of characters that want this, right?
If somehow you had both of these, you could cast a Meteor Swarm while you were concentrating on this.
Yeah, if you could somehow get a second 9th level spell slot, yeah. I guess you can with Font of Magic. You can just like chew through a bunch of sorcery points, get a 9th level slot back, unless that caps. I don't remember if that caps, but those are options that are all at your disposal, maybe.
Oh, you know what? We have not yet mentioned sorcery points. Like, do any of these work with meta magic at all?
No.
Okay.
Not in a meaningful fashion, at least. There's always the reroll damage option that you can get on the area diff save, so one thing takes more damage sometimes. You can do like Bass Polymorph, they have worse save here, impose a disadvantage. But for the most part, these are just like damaging stuff. And because Mass Polymorph fits so many targets, you only get one of them to reroll the save or disadvantage on the save, so it's not like that effective. Same as Psychic Scream. So not really is my verdict, unless the sorcery point one that it heightens isn't. It affects all saves. I don't think it does. I think it's just for the first save, but I'll double check just to be sure. But for the most part, yeah, I don't think sorcery points have that big of an impact on this specific selection of 9th level spells, which isn't the end of the world. You've got plenty of things that your meta magic is going to be really good with. So
this entire conversation is moot because you're picking to Wish.
Yeah, and that works with every meta magic actually, because it's every 8th level spell in the game. Plus, why not?
All right. Have you finished your list?
That's my top 5, and we're at the exact same list this time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so
just in
we have
a little bit of a different order. Mine is number 1, Wish, number 2, Meteor Swarm, number 3, Mass Polymorph, number 4, Psychic Scream, number 5, Blade of Disaster.
Yeah, mine is all those probably in a slightly different order. Now, I wonder, I'm going to take one more quick look at the list. We have to have the same worst.
Yeah, the other 2 options. One of them I find almost made my top 5. It might be better than Power Word Kill. And the other one is just like, whatever. But there is one that's just definitively worse than everything else here.
I know exactly what you're talking about for each of those, according to that vague description you just gave.
Yep.
All right, but we've flown through these, so let's do our worst, and then we can do some runners up, and we might as well talk about the other two spells since they're there.
Sure. So the worst is Power Word Kill. It's
Yes,
awful. The
absolutely.
spell's booty. The spell does 100. The spell hits only creatures that are already under 100 hit points, and then it kills it. But if it's over 100 hit points, you waste the spell slot. So that's kind of
Yeah.
already trash. And then you have to consider, like, well, okay, how much is 100 damage? How much is 40d6 damage? And if you punch that into a damage calculator, you get 140 damage for 40d6 damage, which is, even if you have it 70 damage, it's still a big chunk of damage on a pass to save from a Meteor Swarm. So, like, you have to ask yourself, okay, this thing's between 30 and 100 hit points, and I then would rather not just hit it with something else. I'd want to use another spell to execute this. That just all seems terrible to me.
And like we talk about this every time, but you're in a party at the level at which you are casting 9th level spells. If it's got under 100 hit points, you can take it out, with your bare hands.
In a single round, you can take it.
Yeah.
There's also the very real
there's
meta
the
problem
risk.
that we always talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's the risk that it might have 101 hit points, in which case this is going to do nothing. But beyond that, you're denying yourself the fun of killing it in a more interesting way.
Yeah, you just point at it and it dies. Okay, you did it. It probably had around 70 hit points, 40 hit points, who knows? But it is dead now, I guess. I don't think the spell deserves to exist in this fashion. I like there being a big fan. I like the conceptually there being a big single target damage 9th level spell. This just isn't it. This is just
Well, I mean,
an
it's not just
execute. That's not
damage.
even a
This is
good
just
one.
power word kill. I like the name. I like the like you said, the concept, but no, the mechanics are not there.
I do think it would be neat if there was a spell that was just saving throw or die. Like if you pass it, nothing happens. If you fail it, you die. And then legendary resistance means it doesn't work on the big monsters you care about, but it does just kill an ogre. It does just kill a giant, right? It does just take something out of a fight that you want to take out of a fight, and that's super relevant.
I mean, yeah, that's power word kill. Let's do it that way. We don't need this 100 hit point garbage.
Agreed. I mean, if it's got to compete with Wish, it's got to do more than this.
Oh,
the spell is truly, truly trash. I don't know if it's the worst of the power words, but it is definitely a contender for worst of the power words.
I think it's the worst. It's got the lowest threshold, and yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes it the worst for me.
It also, like, a 9th level spell that only can do one thing is a little bit sad still, right? So, like, Meteor Swarm, while technically just does one thing, the thing is damage, it also levels a city, right? It also just, like, causes mass destruction on a completely untold level up to that point, right? Like, Mass Polymorph does a lot of things. Psychic Scream, like you said, blows people's heads up, it stuns things, it does area effect damage, it does lots of things. Blade of Disaster is also kind of singularly focused, right? It's just making some attack rolls, but it has some cool crit stuff. You can do some neat little bonus action things with it. I think there's a little bit more variety even to that than there is to Power Word Kill, which is just like, all this does is do 100 or less damage to one target. No thanks.
Psychic Scream does multiple target damage, not area damage, right?
Each target, yes, multi-target damage, which I consider to be an area because it's like targets within this area. That's how I think of it in my brain.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I wasn't reading it wrong.
No, you're
but okay. Yeah, power word kill, easy worst. Makes my job easier.
Two other options though that we talked about. Do you want to talk about the meh one or the one that might have deserved to be on our list?
We'll talk about the meh one first.
Gate,
yes.
This is like a game mechanic in this, not quite in the same like horrific way that Astral Projection is a game mechanic, but in a fashion where you make a portal to different realms and then you can have people go through them for up to only a minute. So this kind of like leads part of like the very first 50 units of an army go through this portal. And that's something, I guess. But beyond that, it's just worse plane shift, and plane shift is a lower level spell. So
yeah, we've had all kind of spells like this, and I don't give a crap about plane, so I just lump this in with other teleportation things. And yeah, we've had enough of those.
I think there is a cool game that uses the planes. I like it a lot. I just don't think that the spells that you would want with them necessarily, like, you don't want them in the same resource pool that you want your combat stuff. You don't want them in the same pool as you want your exploration stuff, because they're like scene transitions. They're getting from one point of action to another point of action. You want that to be on the side of things that you pay gold for, right? You want them to be things on the spectrum of DM resources given to you that allows you to keep playing the game in a cool fashion, right? Like
Well, that's
that's why
another thing.
create
That
spell
I mean,
Gemmerham is such a giant question mark to me. Is like, this isn't a spell, this is a purchasable item. This is to me an extension of that in a little bit less extreme of fashion.
well, also, I mean, if the party is going to be jumping around in planes, I feel like that is a DM responsibility. Like, you know, players shouldn't just get to change the whole DM's thing at the drop of a hat like that. I mean,
Yeah.
unless the DM's okay with that.
And I mean, like, this adds the very real issue to some tables where it's just like someone goes, "Oh, wouldn't it be hilarious if I picked a plane shift?" And then they do it, and everyone goes, "Oh, this is gonna be so funny!" And then they plane shift once, and the DM goes, "All right, now I'm just gonna go spend 15 minutes, or do better yet on the fly and just make some crap up, and we'll be somewhere else, and we won't do the main plot anymore, and then it'll get wildly sidetracked." And that's not a great game thing. That's not a great element to have in every single game, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I don't think that games benefit from this being a core system.
Yes. 100% agree. All right.
Lukewarm gate. It's not actively hurting you to put in your character sheet and will serve a purpose at some tables. Whereas like power word kill is just always bad, but it is pretty awful still. Then there's the one that I don't know how to rate because the limitations are really severe. And I've come down on it a lot over the years. It's time stop.
Yes. I mean, the whole problem is if you use it for anything effective, it ends.
Yeah.
But it is a really interesting effect.
Yeah, it like buys you a couple extra turns to do nothing, right? Like you have to actively. So it ends if you. So let me find the end again. The spell ends if one of the actions you use during this period or any effects you create during this period affects a creature other than you or an object being worn or carried by someone else. And it ends if you move to a place more than 1,000 feet away from the location where you cast it. Which I do have a hard time seeing how exactly you get 1,000 feet from where you are without affecting anyone else. I guess just like maybe Dimension Door or Teleport. Because it doesn't end if you cast spells. It ends if you affect other creatures. But like, you can only have one buff on yourself at a time, and you could have just done that with your action. Like, I don't really see a huge amount of benefit from this. It feels like a really expensive kind of short range teleport with a buff attached to it for a 9th level spell. It's kind of a get out of jail free card, right? Like maybe you just use 3 turns in a row to run, or you just like you get 3 turns, you do like a teleport, grab a thing, teleport back, and now you have a bomb or something. But like there's so many big old question marks with time stop. Comment down below. Let me know why this spell is supposed to be busted and how you do busted things with it. Especially if you're like just 20 levels in Sorcerer. What does that look like?
It's not running away.
It can't be, right?
No, that's not what you use time stop for. I don't know what you do use it for. There's always a delayed blast fireball, but I mean, it's got to be for more than that. I mean, there's the only
Stacking
thing I
just
can
delayed
think
blast fireball on this does not excite me.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't think of anything. There's the only thing that I can think of is like mundane things. If you set up like a Rube Goldberg machine or something around your enemies, but no.
Here's a question.
Yes.
Summon spells affect a creature, right? So you can't even summon allies or anything with this. Like you can't use this to reset your summon celestial or anything, because that is creating a creature, and that creature is affected by being created, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
So yeah, that a lot of the ways I want this to work really do live in the realm of mundanity. And that's not a great place to have my 9th level spell exist.
No.
It's still super interesting. It's super neat. I would love to play with this. I just don't know exactly what to do with it. I would want to tinker around with it for a long while.
All right. Well, I will second your request for commenters to let us know interesting ways we could be using this.
And if it deserves top 5 mention, is it better than Blade of Disaster? I could see it. Like that make sense to me.
Yeah.
This has powerful words. It's a bunch of free turns, but those turns are really limited. So,
I mean, all right. You say, I am going to make this tree disappear. Time stop. Cut down the tree. Drag it away.
Can the sorcerer cut the tree down in 18 seconds?
I don't know.
If you're
That's,
just not
that's all I got.
Just wish the tree isn't there anymore. That's the real way to make it disappear, right?
Yeah, but you want it to look like, an illusion.
You want it to look
Like,
like you're a stage magician.
yes.
Okay, got it. Then time stop is what you need to use.
All right. I feel like this is the only thing we've contributed so far.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I guess, man, is that what we're going to end this series of spell list with?
Yeah, I
I
guess.
suppose so. All
I
right,
mean,
great.
there are big, powerful stuff here. You can do Mass Polymorph. You can do Meteor Swarm. You can do, like, if you haven't played with Wish yet, it is a good time to play with the first time around. I will never want to put it on my sheet ever again because I know how good it is and I've done the Wish stuff. But, like, if you haven't, give it a try. It is a genuinely great time to play with.
All right. Well, those were our picks for the 9th level sorcerers list. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Let us know your list and what we could do with Time Stop. All right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Sam. And like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.